Hey everyone, this is Mr. Thacker. So this is our third oblique assignment, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to demo at least one problem, maybe two for you guys, just to support you in the process, because sometimes some of these can be fairly challenging. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and label the problems that we're going to be doing. So I like to create these primarily in cabinet. However, I may create one of these in Cavalier. We'll see kind of how it works out. So I'll do this one in cabinet, and this is 05. Okay, and that one's pretty easy to do. Then we've got 08, so I'll likewise do that one in cabinet. And then we've got 09. I think I'll go ahead. This one's going to be a little bit more challenging to create. So as far as creating it in Cavalier, I think I will create this one in Cavalier. Okay, just because I think it'll be easier to see and create in Cavalier. And this is the one I'm going to actually demonstrate for you, which is 09. Okay, it's somewhat challenging. And then the last one I'll do in cabinet as well. And that's 011. Okay, so remember that Cavalier does distort the depth a bit, and that's important to keep in mind when creating these. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into problem 09. So 09, we need to find out the problem's dimensions. So looking at the problem's dimensions, we need width, height, and depth. Okay, so counting here, the width is also 10. Okay, the height is only 4. And the depth is 5. All right, so let's box that up. Box is critical on these. So let's box that up, setting up the axes first. All right. And remembering that we are doing Cavalier on this one, certainly you can go in and do cabinet on this one. It might be a little bit more challenging to do cabinet, but I'm going to step off the 10 for the width, okay, which takes me to here, and then the 4 for the height, which takes me to here, and then 5 for the depth. So 5 for the depth, remember we're counting either each of the vertical lines or the horizontal lines, okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, it puts me way out here. So anyway, let's go ahead and create that left edge. Top edge, and right there is my front view boxed, but not my object box. So I want to take those edges back. I can go ahead and take all of them back, or I can wait until after I've created this this back edge of the right side. So there it is. Then I'll take this edge back, and I know where it ends because we've got this one here. Okay, so there's my box for this particular problem. And so next step, after using the box method, step number 1, the next step, step number 2, is to establish the shape. And so the shape, it's somewhat complex compared to the earlier ones. So one thing I'm going to focus on is I'm going to focus on this shape here, and then I'm also going to focus on this shape here. And in doing so, that will allow me to get the rest of it. Okay, so this one, the shape and the details, I would say, go hand in hand all together. It's certainly more complex. So I'm going to focus on this pentagon and this pentagon as well. The key is this point here and this point here. Those are the keys, particularly this one because it doesn't fall exactly on the grid. So let's go ahead and get those two shapes worked out. So one is on the front, that one's easy, so it's 4 wide. So I'll just kind of make a line there, 4 wide. And then if you go up 2 blocks, you can connect to this point here in the middle, okay, to kind of create that peak, and that happens to be on the grid at 45 degrees, which is nice, okay? Makes it easy to create that. That is very simple. However, to create the same pentagon of different dimension over here on the right, it's a little more difficult, and this is where it's going to look distorted as well. So here, let me bring the problem back over. So here, so you can see where I did the 4, the 2 up, and this point's in the middle of that box. All right, so looking at the right side, we need to go back 3 blocks, and then it's in the middle of this. Sorry, we need to go back 2 blocks, I'm sorry, or come up 3 blocks. But in the middle is where that point is, and in the middle of this block is where that point is. So finding that point is very critical. So let's go back 2 blocks, okay? And I'm just going to make a light line to kind of box where that shape's going to be. And it is up 2, just like in the earlier example. We go up 2, all right? And certainly we can make a line across through there. Right there's our other point. And this point that I'm looking for at the apex is right there. And the reason why it's right there, it's right in the middle of this block, and it's right in the middle of this block, okay? So this is where that point is. Critical to get that point in the right place. And then we can draw our lines, okay, that don't follow the grid. All right, and there you can see the shape of both of those two, okay? That's the hardest one right there, because trying to find that point is the key. And if you don't get that point right, it's not going to look right, okay? So now I'm going to provide depth for this, this particular one. So I'll just take my edges back. Now really, you know, I can count back, or I can bring this edge. So I need to give this one width. So I bring that over and I know where that one ends. And then I can kind of just connect those 2 lines. So I can bring this corner over, all right, connect. There's the intersection. You can always erase if that looks unclear to you. We can take this edge back. It's going to go all the way back to this back edge of our box, okay? And this edge here, it's kind of confusing as to where this goes, but technically, okay, it stops right there and creates a little valley right there. Like, looks kind of weird initially, but that is how it ends, because it's at a 45-degree angle, so it looks straight. It is weird, right? I think that is correct. I could be. So if you count the grid blocks, you can see that this is in the right place. It's kind of weird to figure that out, but if you count the grid blocks, there's 7.5 grid blocks from this point to this point. And if you count the grid blocks this way, there's 7.5, because that's half right there, okay? So we know that this spot is in the right location. The next step is to bring this roof line down, and so I bring this down right here, okay? And you can kind of see that shape worked out. So now it's a matter of darkening it, and hopefully you guys can see this clearly. What I'll do is go ahead and darken my initial shapes. Okay, I'll go ahead and do the same here. Darken the initial shapes. And that's where I began to kind of work out the shape and the detail. And then let's go ahead and darken the rest of the object. And it's strange that this edge here lines up with this edge here and doesn't appear at an angle, but that's just how you're viewing it. So it is correct. And you can count blocks to confirm that reality. Just like this edge lines up with this edge here, which is just coincidence based on how we're looking at the object. Okay, and right there is problem number 9, created in Cavalier Oblique. Certainly you could have chosen to create it instead in Cabinet to make it look more realistic, but you might argue that it does look more realistic this way. That's certainly up for debate. All right, let me go ahead and kind of start you guys out on problem 011, and then you guys can take it from there, okay? So again, we need to find out the dimensions for problem 011. I'm going to go ahead and lay out my axes. Right, doing this in Cabinet. So here's 011. I need to find out what the width, height, and depth are. Okay, so count across this circle, and it's 6, and then go continuing on this center line, and you got 4 more. So again, it's 10. Height is 6, okay, and depth is 4, kind of our traditional size for most of these objects. All right, so let's take those dimensions and lay those out. So right there's 10 and 6, and this time we're doing Cabinet, so we need to go 2, okay? And let's go ahead and box that up. So left edge, top of the right, and back edge of the right, and then bring this corner back parallel to Z, so the left of the top and then the back of the top. And there's my box. Now I'm ready to create my object or establish my shape. So box method, establish the shape. Here's the shape right there, that circle and this shape sticking out. The problem is that circle's on the front, so that'll make it easy to create, but this part here is on the back, okay? So we need to create that entire cylinder before we create this. You can do it a couple different ways, but I like to create this and then come in and create the rest of my shape so I don't confuse myself. So the circle is 6 in diameter. I like to find its center point. So let me do that. That'll help me get the technique. So I'll go over 3 and come down 3. So I'm going to go over 3, so I can do that from the top and measure over and just draw a line. And then likewise come down 3 and make a horizontal line. I'll go ahead and box up those 6 blocks, which would have been good to do from the start. And this is where I can use those 45-degree angle lines. I already have them in there, but if it helps you to trace over them so that you can transfer your measurements, that's a good idea. Okay, and so I want to use the grid paper, get the measurement of 3 blocks. Let me do that a little, and transfer that to the 45s. Notice where it falls. If you can see where it falls, you can just transfer that distance to the other marks. Okay, and you can see how it matches up consistently. Okay, so we've got our all of our points to make our circle. Just wanting to emphasize them for you guys, and so let's connect those. Remember, line up 3 to make a curve. Okay, and there's my circle. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we want this circle goes all the way to the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these points back, okay, on the Z. So you want to, to give it depth. Remember, we're going on the Z axis. I'm going to move this one back that same distance. It's hard to count. So what I do is I count by horizontal lines. This one isn't exactly on a horizontal line, it's just above. So I'm going to go 1 horizontal line, then another, and it's just above that on this line here. So I'm going to put a point there, and then I'm going to move this one back 2 horizontal lines, and I can kind of create that circle. Okay, so I'm creating that circle. The great thing about these 2 points is those are the tangent points, so I can connect those 2 points. Okay, We'll talk more about tangent later. I need to move this point back, so I'm going to go so a horizontal line and just above the next horizontal line, so it's about right in there. And then move this one back 2 horizontal lines. This will mess with your eyes. So just move these points back. I'm going to likewise move this point back. 1, 2, and it's just under that horizontal line right here. Okay, and then I'll move this point back 2, and there it is. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. So 1 horizontal line, 2. This one's a little harder, so I've gone, or excuse me, this one's a little harder, so I've gone 1. Or actually, that one's easy. 1, 2. This one's the one that's hard, so I've gone 1 line, and it's, so 1 line, 2 lines, but it's just inside that line. So now we can connect those points. It may help to draw 45-degree angle lines to assist in this. All right, and there we are with the back circle as much as we need. We can connect our tangent points. Notice how I'm connecting those. All right, and there's our cylinder. So our cylinder exists. And now we can get the rest of our shape. So we've got this rectangular prism connecting with our cylinder in problem 11. So I'm going to draw it since it's on the back based on this view and this view here. Okay, since it's on the back, remember the front edge is closest to the front view. Okay, on each of these, the top and the right side. The back is furthest from the front view. So since that's the case, I'm going to draw it from the very back first. So I know that it is 1 block down from the very top and 1 block up from the very top, or it's 4 tall. So I'm going to go 1 block down. I'll do that from this right edge and make a line straight in, because I'll see this line. All right, and then go down 4 blocks. And I'm not going to make this line because I won't see it. So I'm going to bring this forward, remember, one block, because it is 2 blocks deep. However, we're doing cabinet oblique, so we've got to cut that in half. So I will go ahead and box that. So right there it is, and bring this line over, and it coincidentally lines up with the top of my box, okay? Coincidentally lines up with the top of my box. And then likewise, I'll bring the bottom edge of that surface over. Okay? And, you know, it's still pretty challenging from here. So next, so getting my shape, the key is how does this rectangular prism meet up with this cylinder? Well, the answer is right here. There is a point right there that we can draw a line parallel to Z and connect. That's where they connect, okay? And likewise, they connect kind of down here at the bottom. You can kind of bring that point down and see where they connect over here as well, okay? So it connects kind of randomly right there, all right? And what we want to do is we want to transfer this point to here, because it's 1 block. And that point we can transfer up to about right there, because it's 1 block. And this point we kind of already have mistakenly, because I made it earlier. And we can connect those 3 points. So let me just rotate my paper. We can connect those 3 points. And in doing so, that's how the rectangular prism will connect with the cylinder. Okay, that's probably the hardest part of this drawing, is getting that arc right there correctly. All right, so actually I connected it to the wrong point. I apologize. Let me try that again. You can kind of see it didn't quite look right. There we go. And now I'll go in and begin to darken this up. So I'm going to darken my curve. I want you guys to see this curve nice and clearly. Now, I'm about to make a mistake here. One thing that I haven't done, I'm skipping a step, but that's critical. That curve right there is critical. So now I've got my shape. So all that to get the shape of problem 011. The next thing is to add details. So there is a detail in here, and that detail is this little notch cut in on the front. You can see it on the right side that it's 1 block deep, it's 3 wide, 2 tall, okay, and it's 1 block up. So remember, in depth, it's only going to be a half a block because it's only 1 block here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over here on the right edge, count up 1 block, and make a line in, okay? Count up 2 blocks because that's its height, make a line in. It is 3 blocks wide, so I'll go over here and make a line straight up. So right there's my detail in 2 dimensions, all right? I need to give it a third, so this is where I'm going here, a half of a block, okay? And make a line where it's a half of a block. Now, that still hasn't made it completely 3D. It's only 2D on the right side and 2D on the front. So by bringing this edge, all of our edges back that we would see, which is just that one, this one, and this one, we can bring this edge over and across, okay? And where it meets that one, bring it up, and now we see it in 3D, the detail in 3D. So now we can go ahead and continue darkening our object, and so I'll darken my curves first. Okay, do that also on the back. And notice how little we have to darken on the back. And then get this tangent line here. Take care of the one on the bottom as well. All right, and then create the rest of the shape by doing step number 4, which is to darken the object. Now class, you got to be careful here. It's very easy to leave out edges. Usually students will leave out this edge here and darkening and this edge here. Okay? Excuse me. And that is it completed. Okay, that's what it looks like in Oblique, Cabinet Oblique, okay, for 011. All right, I wish you the best in creating your own examples. Remember to render one and turn them in, okay? Best wishes. Take care.